Let's look at an example. A 12-person HVAC company loses a bid on a 40-unit apartment complex. Their work isn't worse than the winning bidders. Their quote just took 4 days, and the winning bidders took 4 hours. The owner walks away from that loss assuming he needs to sharpen his pricing, or improve his pitch, or build a slicker proposal template. None of that was the actual problem, and this is where most owners misdiagnose exactly what just happened to them, spending months fixing something that was never actually broken. Picture the property manager who put that job out to bid. She's managing a portfolio she barely has time to walk in full, and this bid is one of a dozen things on her desk that week. She's got 3 companies competing for it, all with similar reputations, similar reviews, similar trucks parked outside similar shops. The HVAC company we're talking about does excellent work. Ask any of their existing clients, and they'll tell you the same thing. But when she requested quotes from all 3, the 2 competitors got proposals back within the same business day. Our 12-person company took 4 days because getting a quote out required the owner personally reviewing site measurements, calculating material costs by hand, and writing up the proposal himself between actual jobs whenever he found 20 free minutes. By the time his quote landed in her inbox, she'd already had a full week of comparison shopping with the other 2. Their attention was gone, and his number had nothing to do with it. He simply wasn't in the conversation anymore by the time he showed up to it. This is the single most common reason small, high-quality service businesses lose work to competitors who aren't actually better at the trade, just faster to respond. Speed reads as competence to a decision maker who's never going to see either company's actual craftsmanship before she has to choose one. She's not evaluating who does better ductwork. She's evaluating who answered first, because that's the only signal she actually has in front of her at the moment she has to decide, and every owner who's ever lost a bid this way found out about it, if they found out at all, secondhand and months later. Here's what changes the outcome. Build infrastructure that takes the site details, the standard material cost, the labor formulas the owner already uses in his head, and turns a quote into something that goes out in an hour instead of 4 days. The owner didn't stop being good at pricing. The parts of pricing that were always mechanical, the math, the formatting, the lookup of standard costs, finally have a system doing them instead of eating an owner's evening. The owner still reviews every quote before it goes out. He's still the one who catches the unusual job that needs a different approach, the site with weird access constraints, or the client who's going to need a different equipment tier than the standard template assumes. What he's not doing anymore is spending 3 of the 4 days just producing the document. That's the entire shift, and it's the difference between competing for jobs like that apartment complex and quietly losing them to companies with the exact same skill level and a faster back office. This is the same principle behind every piece of infrastructure I build, whether it's a quoting system, a receptionist, or an order intake tool. The business's actual capability, the craftsmanship, the reputation, the trust built over years was never the constraint. The constraint was how long it took that capability to actually show up in front of the person deciding whether to hire them. Building that quoting infrastructure isn't complicated in concept, even though it takes real work to configure correctly, the same way most valuable infrastructure looks simple from the outside and takes real attention to actually build right. The owner's pricing logic already exists. It's just sitting in his head instead of in a system. This unit type needs this equipment tier, this square footage needs this much labor, this building age usually needs this kind of retrofit work factored in. Getting that logic out of his head and into something that can generate a first-pass quote in minutes, one he still reviews and adjusts before it goes out, is the actual build. His judgment stays exactly where it was. What moves is the 4 days of manual arithmetic that used to sit between his judgment and the property manager's inbox. Here's the part that's easy to miss if you've never lost a bid this way. The property manager in this example isn't being lazy or careless by picking based on speed. She's managing dozens of vendor relationships across multiple properties, and a 4-hour turnaround signals something real to her. This company has its operations together. A 4-day turnaround signals the opposite, even when it's completely untrue. She has no way to know the 4 days were spent producing an excellent, carefully considered quote. All she sees is the gap between when she asked and when she heard back, and she has to make a decision using the information actually in front of her, not the information that exists somewhere inside the business she didn't select. Put yourself in her position for a second. She's not being paid to investigate which vendor is secretly the most skilled. She's being paid to get a competent job done on schedule and within budget across dozens of units without personally auditing every contractor's craftsmanship. A fast, professional-looking quote is evidence she can act on immediately. An excellent quote that arrives a week late is evidence she'll never actually get to see, because the decision closes before it lands. She's simply a normal property manager, operating under exactly the time pressure every buyer in this position operates under. 1. If you're losing bids to competitors who aren't objectively better at the work, look at how fast your response gets in front of the decision maker before you look at anything else. Speed is doing more of the deciding than most owners want to admit, and it's a much cheaper thing to fix than most owners assume once they actually look at what's slowing the response down. 2. The parts of your process that are purely mechanical, math, formatting, pulling standard numbers from memory are exactly the parts that cost you the least to fix and the most to keep doing by hand. That gap is where the easiest wins live, and it's usually the same gap an owner has been quietly annoyed by for years without ever calling it a priority worth actually fixing. 3. Being the best at the actual work only matters if it gets in front of the buyer while she's still comparing. A great business that responds slowly loses to an average business that responds fast, more often than most owners want to believe, and the loss never shows up as a lesson because the owner usually never finds out why he actually lost. More decision makers managing vendor relationships across more properties and more projects than ever are going to keep rewarding speed over everything else, simply because they have less time to wait around for any one bid to land. The businesses that build real infrastructure around their response time are going to keep winning work their craftsmanship alone should have already earned them, while the businesses that don't will keep losing jobs for reasons that never make it back to them in any form they can actually act on. This pattern shows up anywhere a decision maker is comparing multiple vendors on limited information, electrical contractors, and commercial cleaning companies bidding on the same property portfolio just as much as HVAC. Whoever shows up first while the comparison window is still open gets the benefit of the doubt every single time, regardless of trade, regardless of how good the slower bidder's actual work would have turned out to be. If any of what you just heard sounds like your business, and you're not sure how many bids you've lost to a faster competitor without ever finding out, the operational snapshot will tell you how deep the gap is and what it would take to fix it. Free. Link in the description. If you enjoyed this content, like and subscribe so you can watch more videos about how to apply AI into your business.